Oral polio vaccine. Now we will discuss about oral polio vaccine. It's described by Sabin in 1951. Contains live attenuated virus types 1, 2, 3. Grown in primary monkey kidney and human diploid cells. So it is a live attenuated virus with 3 types 1, 2 and 3. Trivalent vaccine contains over 3 lakh TCID 50 of type 1, over 1 lakh TCID 50 of type 2, over 3 lakh TCID 50 of type 3. So these are the doses of 3 types of virus: 3 lakhs type 1, 1 lakh type 2 and 3 lakhs type 3. But from April 26, 2016, from April to 25th, 2016, OPV switch from trivalent vaccine to bivalent vaccine is undertaken by Government of India as per WHO recommendations. This trivalent vaccine is replaced by the bivalent vaccine. This bivalent vaccine does not have type 2 wild virus strain because it is the main reason for causing vaccine associated paralytic polio. This type 2 wild virus strain is the main reason for causing vaccine associated paralytic polio. It reduces the efficacy of other 2 types, and also this type 2 reduces the efficacy of other 2 types, type 1 and type 3. So only type 1 and type 3 are present in oral polio vaccine. The type 2 wild virus strain is not present. It is liquid. It is a liquid vaccine. It's a liquid vaccine, heat stabilized using magnesium chloride. Dose 2 drops. Dose is 2 drops, and site is into the mouth over the tongue by pinching the nose. So that the child opens the mouth wide open. So the child opens the mouth wide open. If you pinch the nose, the child opens the mouth wide open. Then you can place the vaccine into the mouth. Next, development of immunity. How the immunity develops after you vaccinate the child. Virus infects the local intestinal epithelial cells. Then it enters the Peyer's patches where it replicates. Virus then enters the systemic circulation. From the intestine, it enters the systemic circulation where the humoral antibodies are produced. Humoral immunity is produced. Here the vaccine prevents, these antibodies prevents the viral virus from getting vaccine derived polio, causing paralytic polio. So these humoral antibodies protect the individual, protect the host from vaccine derived paralytic polio. So here both a humoral immunity and also gut immunity both are produced in oral polio, whereas in injected polio vaccine only humoral immunity is developed. Gut immunity is developed by development of secretory IgA. Secretory IgA antibodies are formed by which the gut immunity is developed. This will prevent host from wild polio infection. If the host is infected with wild polio infection by any oral intake of any infected food or anything, so food or water, then he will be prevented from this wild polio infection because these secretory IgA antibodies are formed when we give the oral polio vaccine. And another advantage is the progeny of the vaccine is excreted in the feces, and this progeny will infect the others who are not vaccinated, and thus creating artificial immunization in those people who are not vaccinated. Thus, this is called herd immunity. This is called herd immunity. This herd immunity is very much useful because if we vaccinate only 66% of people, then it is sufficient, because this herd immunity will immunize whole other part of the community who did not vaccinate, because the vaccine is excreted in the feces and infects the other and gives artificial immunization. This is called herd immunity. It's very important advantage of oral polio vaccine. This herd immunity is not present in IPV, in injected polio vaccine. So main advantage of this herd immunity is it is useful in endemics. Wherever there are endemics, this herd immunity is very useful. See, advantages of OPV. There are many advantages of OPV. Easy to administer and induces both humoral and intestinal immunity. I discussed in previous slides. Both humoral means humoral antibodies are formed, and also intestinal immunity by IgA secretory antibodies. It also induces herd immunity. I discussed it in previous slide how the herd immunity is induced, and thus helps in preventing endemics. Relatively inexpensive. It's relatively inexpensive than injected polio vaccine. These are the few advantages of oral polio vaccine. Age of administration. According to WHO and National Immunization Schedule of India, the age of administration is 0, 6, 10, 14 weeks, booster at 1.5 years and then 5 years, according to WHO and National Immunization Schedule. But according to Indian Academy of Pediatrics 2014 guidelines, the dosages are 0 dose at immediately after birth, 6 months, 1 and 1.5 year, and 5 years. 6 months, 1.5 year, and 5 years. The 3 doses are, first is 0 dose, 3 doses are at 6 months, 1.5 year, and 5 years, according to Indian Academy of Pediatrics. The primary doses at 6, 10, 14 weeks are replaced by injected polio vaccine in Indian Academy of Pediatrics guidelines. So primary dosing either by injected polio vaccine or by oral polio vaccine to be completed by 6 months of age, as the virulence and infectivity of the organisms is more before 5 years of age. Before 6 months of age, the virulence is more. Virulence and infectivity of organism is more before 6 months of age. So the primary dosing to be completed before 6 months of age, either by infected polio vaccine or by oral polio vaccine. The complications of oral polio vaccine are, there is no many complications. Only complications is vaccine associated paralytic polio. The 90% of this is caused by type 2 polio virus in trivalent vaccine. So this is trivalent vaccine is being replaced by bivalent vaccine according to WHO guidelines. Contraindications are immunodeficiency. Pregnancy is a relative contraindication, and diarrhea and breastfeeding are not the contraindications for oral polio vaccine. Storage at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade or freezer. Heat stabilized vaccines can withstand 25 degrees centigrade for a month. So heat stabilized vaccines can withstand 25 degrees centigrade for a month. The heat stabilization is done by magnesium chloride. The protective efficacy of the vaccine is 10 to 15% per dose in India and 30% worldwide.